When I proposed to my girlfriend Carrie in front of our friends and family, she said, "Larry, I do." Larry was her ex-boyfriend, the one she'd been madly in love with for 4 years. The room went silent, and everyone was staring at me. Unlike what they might have expected, I didn't lose it. Instead, I nodded, feeling oddly calm and relieved. "All right, I'm out, I agree. Carrie, we're done." I was on one knee, ring in hand, eyes locked on Carrie expectantly. The spotlight was on us, and at that moment we were the center of attention. "Will you marry me?" The crowd around us started cheering, "Marry him, marry him." Carrie gasped, covering her mouth in surprise. I smiled and thanked everyone for being there, but then I caught a glimpse of Larry, and I think his lips were moving, like he was saying something. Suddenly, on stage, Carrie's eyes filled with tears, and she cried out, "Larry, I do." My heart sank, and everything that kept me steady crumbled. The cheers stopped abruptly, and all eyes turned to me. "Gary, it's not like that. I just misspoke," Carrie tried to explain, coming over quickly. It's just a friendship with Larry now. I just spaced out. Please don't blame me." Here we go again. Every time she hurts me, leaving me tormented, she expects me to shrug it off with a slip of the tongue. Even when I'm proposing, she's distracted, thinking of Larry. Everyone knew about their blazing love story, but I've loved her for 10 long years. Despite all my efforts, I could never reach that special place in her heart. So what am I to you, Carrie? This saga of self-deception needs to end with me. I took a deep breath. My emotions were a whirlwind, but I kept my cool and said just one word. "All right." I handed her the ring. "Carrie, I'm out." "Your marriage to Larry?" "Yep, I agree." The crowd gasped as I walked away. "Gary." Carrie's voice, shaky and angry, followed me. Ordinarily, hearing that would have made me flinch, turn around, and apologize like nothing happened. But this time I felt nothing. Maybe she realized I wasn't looking back, so she ran after me, grabbing my arm. It was the first time she tried to stop me after a fight. In the past, no matter who was wrong, it was always me begging her to pay attention to me. "Gary, don't be mad. I know I messed up. I swear. I won't contact Larry anymore. What I did wasn't great, but I'm admitting my mistake now. Can't you let it go?" She still thought I'd come running back at her beck and call, with just an apology and a little gesture from her. But I'm not some animal. I'm a person. I feel pain and disappointment too. Your heart doesn't become cold all at once. Carrie still held onto my arm, but I knew she'd soon be impatient if I kept a stern face. But why should I play along with her this time? No one has to bend to another's will in this world. I used to love Carrie more than myself. I was always there, soothing her, celebrating with her. She was the center of my life. There was a time when Carrie wouldn't come home until late. I gently asked if she'd been with Larry. Her expression darkened immediately. "Are you following me?" "Carrie, you promised not to see him anymore." I rarely raised my voice, but it hurt too much that time. "Why keep going back to Larry when you know it upsets me?" Carrie said Larry was heartbroken and she was just being a friend, that I shouldn't be petty. But before I could say more, she slammed the door, not even giving me a chance to talk. Thinking back, it's ridiculous. She made the mistakes, yet even her explanations seemed like a huge favor. I felt like a puppet on a string, jerked around by her whims. While she was with Larry for 4 years, he cheated on her countless times and she stayed silent. But when he was sad, she was there to comfort him, ushering him home if he was drunk. She'd reply to his messages instantly, answer calls without delay. Meanwhile, if I called multiple times, she wouldn't pick up if she was in a bad mood. I'd be left worried sick while she remained unaffected. "If you can't take it, just break up." Those words hit like a dagger, waking me up, and instinctively, I'd grasp her hand and plead for forgiveness. "Gary, what do you want? I've explained and promised already. Come on, our friends and family are here. Don't make it awkward for me." Carrie's words snapped me out of my thoughts, but this time they left me unmoved. I looked at her calmly. "I'm tired, Carrie. Let's break up." "Gary, come on, it was just a joke among friends. There's no need to embarrass Carrie like this. Plus, it's her birthday," Larry chimed in, somehow painting me as the unreasonable one. Carrie was pouting, obviously not realizing I was already done with her. Whatever. I said just that and walked away without looking back. For days, I'd rearranged so much work just to prepare this proposal on Carrie's birthday, only to realize I didn't want to waste another minute on her. I couldn't even muster the effort to say break up again. Carrie returned angrily. It's your fault for leaving suddenly. I didn't even eat dinner and now I'm starving. But it didn't affect me. Hey, can't you hear me? I'm hungry. Get what you want yourself. Carrie jumped up from the couch, looking at me like she'd seen a ghost. I never used to go against what she wanted. I got work to do, let's talk later. Oh, you've made things so awkward between us today. I'm gonna find Larry right now. Carrie knew mentioning Larry would set me off, but I just calmly said, keys are in the hallway. You don't have to come back. You. Furious, Carrie slammed the door and left. A little later, I checked my social media and saw a post from Carrie. She was watching a movie with Larry. Late at night, my phone rang. Gary, I'm drunk at Night Sky Bar. Come pick me up. I'm busy. Get a ride. I said I'm drunk at the bar. Didn't you hear me? You're just gonna leave me? Yeah, whatever makes you happy. I brushed her off and hung up, since a coworker was calling for a meeting. At 3 a.m., Carrie stumbled back home, reeking of alcohol, furious at me. You know who brought me home? Larry. All because you wouldn't pick me up. Great job. I didn't even look up, focused on fixing bugs in a project. All you do is work, work, work. Are you more into your job than me? Aren't you worried I could do something with him? I chuckled and questioned Carrie. Weren't you always swearing you two had a pure friendship? That shut her up. She pretended to be drunk and flopped onto the couch. I used to put all my energy into Carrie. Every time she was upset, she'd vent on me, leaving me doubting myself and drained. Since focusing on work, I've realized I have so much more to learn. Gary, I'm new here. Just call me Gina. I've heard you're great at what you do. The boss asked me to shadow you during my internship, so please take care of me. A sweet, smiling, youthful girl stood in front of me. I hadn't talked to another woman like this in a long time. I was a bit nervous, which made Gina giggle. At the company event that night, there were always some sleazy older guys trying to take advantage of the new girl. Gina was their target. I read their minds instantly. Gina just started with us. No way was she getting harassed on my watch. I really can't drink anymore. Gina was struggling, so I stepped in front of her. I'll take her drink. She's new and still learning the ropes, so go easy on her. I downed the drink in one gulp. Well, look at Gary drinking. Must be a special occasion. I was tipsy, squinting as I told Gina to head home early. Didn't notice her gaze had changed. Later, Gina helped me get a ride home. Worried I'd stumble, she kindly led me to the building. But then we saw two shadows interlocked. Gary, look, some couple getting cozy here. Just then, the girl pulled away. No, Larry, we can't do this. The familiar voice and name. Wasn't that Carrie and Larry? Gary, when did you get back? Carrie's face turned to panic, but then spotted Gina with me. Who is she? My coworker. All right, Gina, it's late. Head home. I'll manage from here. But Carrie stepped forward, grabbing Gina's arm, and loudly asked, do you know he has a girlfriend? Stay away from him. You're Gary's girlfriend? Gina asked, half curious, half dismissive, glancing at Larry nearby. Who's this then? We just saw you two cozying up. It's not what it looks like. We're just... Carrie, no need to explain this to an outsider. Larry tried to act all protective, but Carrie pushed him aside. Stop causing drama. Carrie? I was stunned to see her care more about me than him. Gary, let me explain. No need. I cut her off. I've wanted to clear this up for a while. Let's break up. I don't love you anymore. She felt the finality and coldness in my voice. She realized I was serious. Carrie started wailing, her makeup a mess, hands covering her face, kneeling, sobbing. No, I don't agree. This is just you talking out of anger. I know you don't really want to leave me. I'm serious, Carrie. For the last time, we're done. Don't cling to me anymore. What did you say? Gary, are you out of your mind? Larry immediately stepped up like some hero, holding Carrie, then looked at me with a weird triumph. You better not be joking. You were never good enough for Carrie. You've been hanging onto her for years. You should have known it was bound to end. Shut up. Carrie shoved Larry hard. You don't know us at all. What are you spewing? Carrie, I'm trying to help you. Why would you talk to me like that? Larry acted all hurt. But you've always liked me, right? Now he's letting you go. We can be together now. Doesn't that make you happy? No. Get away. Carrie struck Larry, then ran back to me. Why do you think you can just break up with me like that? I don't agree. You said you'd love me forever. Do those words mean nothing now? To you, they don't anymore. Just a few simple words pushed Carrie to the brink. Sis, how many times does Gary have to say it? He doesn't like you anymore and wants to break up. Can't you hear it? Who do you even think you are, butting in here? Emotion spiraling, Carrie raised her hand to slap Gina, but I stopped her. We're all adults. Don't act on impulse. Now that it's over, let's part gracefully. Just like you said, don't let it end in a mess. Gina, help me pack my things upstairs. I'm moving out tonight. Seeing that she couldn't stop me, Carrie stumbled over, grabbing my sleeve, almost kneeling as she begged. Don't leave. I'm begging you. I can't live without you. What will I do if you go? I chuckled, looking at Larry, who still seemed lost. You have him, and now, even if you decided to marry him right away, it doesn't concern me anymore. Let me go. My cold words were the final dismissal. Carrie simply slumped in place, dazed, unable to process for a moment. I quickly packed my things upstairs. I didn't have much anyway. Just then I realized I hadn't bought new clothes in years. Every paycheck went straight to Carrie. Over the years, I forgot how to love myself. Gary, you have so few things? Gina was surprised, seeing that I hadn't even filled a suitcase. Carrie's stuff was all over the place. Gary, your life was all work and your ex-girlfriend. I nodded. Before, I thought as long as she was happy, I was happy. Nothing else mattered to me. Gary, you're truly a good man. She just never appreciated you. Gina was outraged on my behalf, but I felt indifferent. If I were her, I'd never let such a good man go. Gina asked cautiously, Gary, do you still believe in love? I gave a bitter smile. I'm not in the mood to think about that right now. Oh, Gina said softly. I didn't notice the slight disappointment on her face. As I passed the hallway, Carrie still looked lost. I sighed and called her parents. I couldn't just leave her like this. Larry left at some point, and Gina insisted on helping me move to a new place. My brother lives alone. You can crash there until you find a new place. He's been looking for a roommate anyway. The house feels too empty for him alone. Gina dragged my luggage. I gave in, agreeing reluctantly. Gary, you're just too nice. The night wind chilled me, leaving an emptiness in my heart. It's hard not to feel a certain way, considering how much I used to love Carrie. And now this is how it ends. And so, I left the place we shared for years, the place where I buried my youth, reclaiming myself. What's this? I noticed a certificate on my desk. Gary, it's a qualification certificate. Everyone's taking exams for it now, Gina said with a smile. I felt a bit overwhelmed, realizing I've disconnected from the world. I spent so much time revolving around others that I forgot about self-improvement, let alone learning. Now back at it, I need to put in my all to manage my life well. Constantly uplift myself, enhance my self-worth. Since moving out, my life has been a straight line. But Gina's brother is easygoing, with lots of friends. Knowing I was recently heartbroken, he'd take me out for dinner and chats, never leaving me alone. It wasn't too dull. I enjoyed the present state. No longer was I constantly worried whether Carrie was coming home or going out with some other guy, leaving me miserable at home. Gary, let's go sing tonight. My sister's coming too. Inside the private room, Gina was free-spirited, insisting I sing love songs with her. Her brother joined in. Gary, let's hear your voice. Or else drink a bottle. I chose to drink without hesitation, which made Gina visibly awkward. Suddenly, the door burst open and in walked Carrie. She snatched the bottle from me, staring angrily at Gina and her brother. What do you think you're doing? Gary can't drink because of his stomach issues. Drinking gives him stomach pain. Aren't you sober for years now? Why start again? Tears welled up in Carrie's eyes. I knew you couldn't let me go and were drowning your sorrows. Let's not torture each other anymore. I had no idea how Carrie got here. Gina, though shocked and happy, remembered how I once drank a whole bottle to save her. I interrupted Carrie. First, I chose to drink. They didn't force me. Second, I'm not drinking to grieve. We're just friends having fun, and I'm not hung up on you. You're mistaken. And lastly, we have nothing between us anymore. You can't act like you have a say. Plus, this is my friend's private room. Please leave. Carrie, who'd been so tough moments ago, seemed like she'd had a bucket of cold water dumped over her. She trembled, her lips quivering, unable to believe her ears. Gary, you must be speaking in anger. I know you're still mad at me, and that's all right. I can wait until you cool down. Carrie leaned closer. I've been watering the plants, eating on time, and stayed home every night. I've truly changed. The house can't be without you. If you need time, take it, but tell me before you come back. Okay? Gina let out a small laugh, pulling Carrie away from me. You two ended things. Back when Gary was treating you well, you didn't cherish it. Now that he's done with you, why pretend you're all in love? Ever heard of that saying, better late than never? It's all worthless if it comes too late. Don't you think? My brother, seeing things getting out of hand, quickly called the waiter to escort Carrie out. But Carrie wouldn't budge. Gary, don't be ungrateful. Do you even know how Carrie has been these past few days? Suddenly, Larry stormed over, grabbed my collar, and glared at me viciously. I'm warning you. Disappear from Carrie's life or I'll make your life miserable. I pushed Larry away, but he was furious and landed a punch on me, leaving the taste of blood in my mouth. How could you hit someone? My brother rushed in to hold Larry back. Gina, call 911 so the authorities can deal with this. You can't just go around hitting people in a law-abiding society. Let him spend time in jail. By the time I got out of the police station, it was already late at night. Larry got detained for 3 days for causing trouble and assaulting people. Gary, those two are really unstable, aren't they? 1 minute they're crying and wailing, the next they're hitting people. How did you even put up with it before? Gina looked at me with concern. Carrie's crazy antics were really over the top. I can't believe I stayed with her for so long. She and that guy are always together. Maybe a few days inside will make him behave. See if he'll dare to cross you again. How did I get through it? I can hardly remember myself. This wasn't the first time Larry and I fought. When Carrie was with Larry before, he had hit her, and she called me crying. I went to save her, and that's when Carrie decided to be with me. But things kept escalating between Larry and me. Once after dinner, Larry provoked me and we ended up fighting. But Carrie only held me back and accused me of being too impulsive and unable to take a joke. It was painful. Larry kept making jokes about his past with Carrie, and I couldn't stand up for her, so I hit him. Now they protect each other, making me look like the bad guy. I should take him to the hospital. Carrie didn't even ask how badly I was hurt. She just walked off with Larry while everyone awkwardly watched me. My own girlfriend left me for another guy, leaving me standing awkwardly alone. No one felt comfortable. Old memories pass quickly. This time at the police station, Carrie didn't say a word to help Larry. She just kept her gaze on me, but I didn't care anymore. When I got back, Gina offered to help me with the medication, but I politely refused. Gary, why do I feel like you're trying to keep some distance from me? Gina put the first aid kit away with a hint of disappointment. Before, Carrie forbade me from speaking to other girls. I'm just not used to it yet. Please don't take offense. I felt guilty. Gina had always been so kind, and her brother was good to me too. I was just not comfortable around other girls, not intentionally being distant with her. After hearing my explanation, Gina actually smiled. Gary, you're really different from other guys. It's fine. I'm not offended. Just remember to use the medicine. I didn't quite understand why Gina seemed suddenly happy. Girls' minds are really hard to comprehend. The next day at work, Gina handed me her completed tasks as usual for review. Gary, there are a few parts one don't quite get. Can you explain them to me? Sure, go ahead. Gina casually sat beside me and pointed to some data. It's right here. From an outsider's perspective, we seemed quite close. What are you two doing? A sharp voice pierced the quiet of the office, and the fruit basket Carrie was holding crashed to the ground. Get away from him. Carrie pushed Gina, but Gina was unfazed and pushed back. You're just Gary's ex-girlfriend. Who gave you the right to meddle? What if Gary wants to be with me? What are you gonna do about it? So shameless. I'm not his ex-girlfriend. I'm the real deal, and it's none of your business. Everyone gathered around, whispering about the scene unfolding. I couldn't understand why Carrie wouldn't let me go recently. This wasn't the first time she'd come looking for me. During our time apart, she almost waited every day after work. But I didn't want to engage, so I drove straight off. She'd drop off fruit and new clothes at the gate, along with letters. She kept sending me stuff, but I didn't keep any of it. The guard returned it all to her the next time she came. I told her I wouldn't accept anything, so she shouldn't waste her effort. Carrie never bought gifts for me before. The one time she did was soon after we got together on my birthday. She gave me a watch. I was thrilled for days, but later found out it was a gift meant for Larry. They'd already broken up, so she just passed it to me. At that time, even receiving something unwanted by others made me happy. Carrie noticed my bare wrist suddenly. What happened to your watch? Why aren't you wearing it? I threw it away. I responded nonchalantly. She shook her head, refusing to believe it. Impossible, you wore that watch for years. How could you just toss it? If the feelings are gone, why keep the watch? And it wasn't meant for me to begin with. I'll repay you for the watch. I know it wasn't intended for me anyway. No, I'm not asking for money. More people crowded around to watch, and I knew this would soon affect my work if it kept up. The boss praised my work ethic a few days ago, hinting at a potential raise or promotion. Carrie's persistence was something that needed to be addressed. I tugged on Gina's sleeve and whispered so only she could hear. Can you give me a hand with something later? Gina agreed right away. Carrie, I've moved on. Gina is my girlfriend now, and she doesn't want you to interfere in our lives anymore. Please have some self-respect. She's your girlfriend? Then what am I? Silent tears fell from her sad face. Carrie didn't make a sound, just letting the tears flow. She finally stopped acting crazy. Gary, I love you, but I don't love you anymore. I said it firmly. You know, Carrie, I only love my girlfriend. That's when Carrie finally got it. How could she not know me? When I was with her, I never had any other female friends around. I wouldn't even give other girls a second glance, always revolving around her. I only cherished my girlfriend. Carrie looked at me holding Gina, realizing that the important spot by my side was no longer hers. Now she's just like any other girl I knew back then. She had seen how I loved my girlfriend. That's why it hurt her so much. How could you fall in love with her? Gina looked down at her. It's none of your business why Gary loves me. You just need to know he'll never love you again. Stay away from our lives. Keep some dignity for yourself. When security took Carrie away, she looked like a broken doll, as if she'd shatter with a light touch. But did I really not have feelings for Carrie anymore? Saying that would be a lie. Packing up to leave, I saw our photo wall, memories flooding back. We said we'd travel the world, see the most beautiful places. Leaving, I saw Carrie regretfully sitting on the ground, and I wanted to help her up. But logic told me I couldn't. For the first time, logic beat emotion. At the police station, Carrie didn't defend Larry. Instead, she testified that he struck first, and I knew she really had changed. She finally cared about me, but it was too late. We fell in love at different times. So we missed each other this lifetime too. Since then, Carrie didn't seek me out again. My life gradually got back on track. Things seemed to head in a good direction. Gary, I have something to tell you. Gina, looking shy, asked to come into my office. I thought it was work-related. Gary, everyone thinks we're together now. I suddenly understood. It was always a temporary measure to make Carrie give up. After all, it's not good for your reputation. You'll want to date again. I was careless. I'll explain it to our colleagues right away. There's nothing between us. That's not it. Gina interrupted me, then seemed to gather a lot of courage to say, can't we turn this into something real? What do you mean? I was puzzled. Like, we should be together, Gary. I genuinely like you. Her face turned red, her big doe eyes looking at me. I was a bit stunned. Gina, I only see you as a mentor to a junior. There's nothing more. Plus, I just broke up and I don't want to think about relationships. But Gina seemed to anticipate my response. I know, Gary. You wouldn't agree so quickly. I also know you're hurt, so I'm willing to wait. Gina hadn't finished when an urgent phone call interrupted us. I picked up, not expecting Carrie's plea for help. Help me. Larry came to my house, he's going to kill me. Then the line went dead. My heart sank. The scene felt familiar. I knew Larry, he liked to hit, never holding back. I didn't think twice, and rushed out to find her. Gary. Gina called out but couldn't keep up. I asked you to help him. You like me, right? Now he doesn't want you, and you're still running after him, throwing yourself at him. Carrie, your love is cheap. Weren't you just shouting? Let's see who comes to save you now. Gary doesn't want you, who can help you? Larry rained down blows, leaving Carrie barely hanging on. Bastard! Let her go. I burst through the door, kicking Larry into a corner, then helped Carrie up. Gary, you're here. Don't talk. I'm taking you to the hospital. I picked her up, but Larry, unwilling to give up, got back on his feet, eyes bloodshot. I knew he wouldn't let it end peacefully. Call the cops, I told Carrie, shielding her. Like all those times I stood up first when she faced problems, always unconditionally helping her. Seeing us struggle, Carrie broke down in tears. Gary, I was wrong, I really was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I'm a complete fool. I don't deserve your kindness. Larry found a knife, desperate, stabbing me once. Bright red blood gushed out. Gary. Carrie struggled to stand, throwing herself over me, taking Larry's remaining blows herself. I grabbed a hammer, slamming it onto Larry, sending him crashing down. Carrie, how are you? Gary. Just then, Gina arrived with the police, seeing the chaos and blood oozing from our wounds, visibly shaken. Quick, call 911. Get help. I yelled at the police and Gina. Carrie reached out with bloodied hands, tears in her eyes. Gary, I'm letting you go. Once at the hospital, Carrie was in for emergency care. She took a few knife wounds, but thankfully none hit vital areas. Larry had used a fruit knife, not life-threatening. Luckily, the timely medical attention meant she was quickly out of the emergency room and out of danger. Gina and I sat together in the hospital hallway. Gary, are you still hung up on her? Seeing me work so hard to save Carrie, Gina couldn't help but ask. No. My response was immediate and firm. What about us? Gina, there are lots of good guys out there. I'm not the right one for you. You're beautiful, have a great personality, and are strong professionally. You shouldn't focus all your attention on romance. You have your own world. Gina didn't expect me to say that, and her eyes curved with a smile. I know, Gary, you're telling me to focus on my career and making money, but I'm not giving up. I want both career and love. It's okay if you don't agree with me now. I'm not giving up anyway. With that, Gina stood up. You should go check on Carrie. I've got work at the office to handle, so I'll head out. Gina's graceful departure made me feel relieved. This girl has the courage to love and hate, unlike how unsure I used to be. No matter what happens, she'll be happy. I opened the door to the hospital room. Carrie was half sitting on the bed, gazing out the window. Gary, do you see those falling leaves? Aren't they a bit like us? Carrie turned to look at me, smiling as she teared up. It's only now that I realize how awful I used to be. I loved you, but I know I hurt you too much. I have no right to stay by your side anymore. You deserve to be loved by someone better. Please don't go for someone like me again. And don't end up with someone like me again. Eventually, Carrie's family sued Larry for attempted murder, and Larry was sentenced. The incident left Carrie severely traumatized. She went abroad with her parents for recovery and rehabilitation. Our story ends here. Since then, I've often reflected on the idea that to love others, you have to love yourself first. Love is a two-way street, not a solo performance. We must love the right person and do the right thing to make the most out of this life.